Hey friends, welcome back to Zoo School. Just want to quickly thank our members for watching and sharing our videos. Without you, we wouldn't be here. And really quickly, our theme of the week this week is reptiles. So on our table behind us, as usual, we have our biofacts, which if you recall, that is real or replica animal parts used for educational purposes. So like I said, this week is reptiles, and all reptiles have certain traits or characteristics. Firstly, all reptiles have backbones. Yes, even turtles. All reptiles are ectotherms, which means their body temperature is controlled from the outside environment. All reptiles have scales. Again, yes, even turtles. All reptiles produce eggs, and if they lay the eggs, it's on land. And most reptiles have claws. So now that we've gone over some of the characteristics of reptiles, I'm going to go over a couple of groups of reptiles. There are 4 major groups of reptiles. We have snakes, lizards, turtles, and crocodilians. I'm going to start with crocodilians. Crocodilians includes crocodiles, alligators, and caimans. One really cool thing about crocodiles is their skin. As you can see here, I said earlier that all reptiles have scales. Even alligators have scales. And these are really thick and pokey, and these are called scutes. Alligators also have something called osteoderms, which is a thick armor type thing that reinforces the scutes. Alligators are also known as homodonts because all of their teeth look very similar. If you zoom in here, you can see that they're the same type of teeth occurring throughout their mouth. They also have a very powerful bite. So moving on to another group, we have lizards. Lizards are a diverse group of reptiles that occur on every continent except for Antarctica. They range in sizes as well. This is an iguana skull. You can see it's pretty small. This, however, is the largest species of lizard. This is a Komodo dragon. And you can see that their teeth are serrated because they are carnivores, which means they eat meat. So I'm going to show you guys another type of reptile. This is Razzle. He is our bearded dragon. And bearded dragons are native to Australia. He's about 3 years old. So you can see some things that lizards have that snakes do not have. You can see this external opening here. That's his ear. And most lizards have external ear openings or external ears, meaning that they do hear sounds. Another characteristic of a lizard are their long tails. You can see that this bearded dragon has a really long tail, almost the length of his body, and that's really common in lizards. Another characteristic, they have movable eyelids, which means they can open and shut their eyes. So now that we have gone over 2 groups of reptiles, I'm going to hand it over to Keaton, and she's going to go over a few more.
Hey everyone, the next group of reptiles we're going to talk about is one of my personal favorite groups. It's snakes. Snakes are a pretty misunderstood group of reptiles, but to understand them better, they, like all reptiles, have backbones. So as you can see on here, you can see that all their vertebrae have ribs attached to it. And if you guys watched our Africa video last week, you remember Pearl. And Pearl is a ball python. She is around 3 years old. And unlike our lizard friends, they do not have any external ear openings. So you can see on her head here that she does not have ears. That's because snakes hear sounds very differently from us. And they do not have movable eyelids. But they do have scales, which are really smooth. Pearl here feels almost like a basketball. And they also have a very special organ in the top of their head called the Jacobson's organ. So as she's sticking her tongue out, smelling everything, that tongue is able to take in all the air particles and take it to the Jacobson organ, which tells her that it's a shelter, food, or even a predator. So our next group of reptiles is going to be testudines, or turtles and tortoises. And as you can see on that beautiful tortoise shell, they have very large scales. And the tortoises, like this African leopard tortoise here, this is very domed shape, and that's because tortoises spend most of their time on the land. And they, like all reptiles, do have a backbone, but it's inside of their shell, which helps keep them protected. And then the major difference between turtles and tortoises is their shells. So this is a turtle shell, and it's a lot more flattened on the top. That's because turtles spend more time in the water, and this makes them a little bit more dynamic to swim around. So as you can see, as you go through all of our bio facts here, take a look at all the characteristics that we talked about: backbones, teeth, and scales. And then as you go along there, think about all the different characteristics we talked about with the reptiles. And I have a mystery animal for us. This animal looks like something we may think that it is, but let's think about all of the characteristics we talk about. Let's take a look at her head here. There are external ear openings, and she's using her tongue to smell. Her tail, which begins right about here, is pretty long, and it is about the same length as her body, or maybe even longer. So what do you guys think this reptile is? A snake, maybe? There's no legs. It's actually a legless lizard. So even though Mirage does not have any legs, she is still a lizard by those characteristics that we talked about with the external ears and the really long tail, and even the movable eyelids. Legless lizards, this specific species, is a European legless lizard, and they are one of the biggest legless lizards. They're also known as glass lizards, and they can be found right here in Oklahoma even. Our legless lizards, or glass lizards, don't get quite this big. The European legless lizard gets about 3 to 4 feet long, and they are carnivores, so they'll eat lots of different insects, as well as the occasional small mammal. And legless lizards also have this very defined lateral line here that separates the top from the bottom of her, which you don't see in snakes. Well, that's all we have today for reptiles. We hope you guys enjoyed all of our animal ambassadors, and we will see everyone on Tour Tuesday. Thank you.